They laughed when they pressed gum into my hair, but I swore they'd regret every sticky strand. My name's Riley. I'm 16, and last Thursday was the worst day of my life. It started out like any other morning. I wore my favorite hoodie, tied my hair into a soft ponytail, and sat quietly at the back of Mrs. Kendrick's history class. I wasn't popular, not invisible either, but I was the kind of girl people remembered only when they needed help with assignments. Unfortunately, that made me an easy target. Samantha, the ringleader of our school's clique of elite mean girls, was in a particularly vicious mood that day. I had no idea what triggered her. Maybe I looked too confident in my hoodie, or maybe she was just bored. Either way, she decided to make me her entertainment. While Mrs. Kendrick turned to write something on the board, I felt a sharp tug on my hair. Then something cold and soft smushed into the back of my head. I froze. Laughter bubbled up behind me, suppressed but unmistakable. My fingers reached back and they stuck. Gum. Chewed, warm, disgusting gum. "Oops," Samantha whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. "Guess you shouldn't have such basic hair, Riley." The girls beside her snorted. Even some of the boys chuckled under their breath. My eyes stung. My pulse roared in my ears. I didn't scream. I didn't say a word. I just stared forward, pretending I didn't hear anything as the gum slowly hardened into my scalp. The bell rang. I bolted from class before anyone could see the tears forming. I ran into the girls' bathroom, locked the last stall, and cried silently while trying to pull the gum out. It wouldn't come off. The more I yanked, the worse it got. Strands of hair clung together like spider webs. I pulled out scissors from my bag, the safety kind, barely sharp enough to cut paper, and hacked off a chunk near the crown of my head. Now I looked like a half-plucked bird. The uneven bald patch gaped in the mirror like an open wound. Laughter echoed from outside the stall. I wasn't alone in the bathroom. One of the girls must have followed me. I heard the click of a phone camera, followed by footsteps fading away. My humiliation was complete. The entire school would know by lunch. I felt like disappearing, melting into the sink, vanishing down the pipes. But instead, I stood there and whispered through clenched teeth, "You want to play games, Samantha? Fine, I'll play too. And when I'm done, you'll never forget the way gum feels stuck in your hair." By the time I left the bathroom, my cheeks were raw from crying, and my hair looked like a bad DIY experiment gone wrong. I wore my hoodie up the rest of the day, tugging it so far down my forehead I could barely see. But that didn't stop the whispers. Or the photos. Someone had already posted a blurry snapshot of me hunched over the sink in the bathroom, scissors in one hand, strands of hair in the other. The caption, "When gum meets basic hair. R.I.P." It had already racked up over 200 likes. I didn't eat lunch that day. I couldn't. The nausea twisted so hard in my stomach I thought I'd puke. I just sat outside on a bench near the dumpsters where no one ever bothered to go unless they were skipping class. I was halfway through silently counting my breaths when I heard a voice behind me. "You know, she did the same thing to me last year. Not gum, but worse." I turned around and saw a girl I vaguely recognized, Avery. Quiet, always sketching in the back of art class. Short green streaks in her bangs and thick black eyeliner. People called her weird. I called her brave. I blinked. Samantha did. Avery nodded and sat beside me like it wasn't even a question. She posted fake screenshots of my texts. Made it look like I was obsessed with some guy. Everyone thought I was a stalker for months. "Why didn't you say anything?" She gave a hollow laugh. "Because saying something just gives them fuel. But you..." She looked me over. "They made you cut your hair. That's worse than what she did to me. And you didn't even cry in class. That's impressive." "I cried later," I muttered. "Still, you've got guts." I didn't know what to say. I had never thought of myself as brave, just a girl trying to get through the day. But hearing someone say that out loud, it hit different. Avery leaned in, eyes glinting with mischief. "Want to get back at them? Not like beat them up revenge, but real poetic, unforgettable revenge." For the first time all day, I felt something other than shame, hope, and a burning little fire deep in my chest. "What kind of revenge?" I asked carefully. She smiled. "Let's just say, we give them a taste of their own sticky medicine." We sat there for another hour talking, planning, laughing even. For once, I didn't feel alone. By the time I walked home that day, I was still humiliated, still hurt, still sporting a bald patch under my hoodie. But I also had a plan, and Samantha had no idea what was coming. The next morning I felt different. I still had that hollow pit in my chest from yesterday, but now there was something else swirling on top, something sharp, electric almost. Gleeful. I kept my hood up, but underneath it I'd braided what was left of my hair into tiny coils and pinned them to the side. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Avery met me at the school gates, already chewing gum with a smirk. "Operation Sticky Karma is a go," she whispered, slipping me a pack of extra strong bubblegum and a folded piece of paper. Inside were 3 columns: names, weak spots, timing. Avery had done her homework. Turns out the queen bees weren't as untouchable as they looked. Samantha had gym class 3rd period and always left her designer tote in an unlocked locker. Madison, the second in command, took selfies in the girls' bathroom after lunch, like it was a photo shoot. And Chloe, she used hairspray constantly and never tied her hair back, not even in chemistry class. We weren't going to hurt them, not permanently, just return the favor. It started slow. On Wednesday, I accidentally bumped into Madison outside the lunchroom. Her water bottle slipped from her hands. Avery stepped in and helped pick it up slyly, sticking a tiny wad of gum to the inside of her coat's hood while she wasn't looking. When Madison put it on after school, her perfect curls tangled into the sticky mess, and she screamed so loud I heard it from the other side of the courtyard. Day 1 success. Thursday, we set our sights on Chloe. Avery dropped a piece of gum into the open hood of her coat while she was busy spraying her hair in the bathroom mirror. When she put it on later, the heat from her own head melted the gum into her roots. It took 3 teachers and a pair of scissors to get it out. Chloe cried real tears this time. I didn't feel guilty. Then came Friday. Samantha. We'd saved the best for last. Avery had managed to get her locker combo Don't Ask How, and we waited until 3rd period when she went to the gym. Her tote bag was wide open. Inside, a hairbrush, a lip gloss, and 3 scrunchies. Avery handed me the gum. I chewed it until it was soft and warm, and together we pressed it deep into the bristles of her hairbrush, then smeared another piece along the inside band of her scrunchie. By lunch, Samantha was stomping through the halls, her hair in a lopsided ponytail with a massive clump of gum stuck to the back of her scalp. She was red-faced, furious, and completely humiliated. No one laughed, no one dared, because for the first time Samantha wasn't in control anymore. And everyone knew it. Samantha didn't show up to school on Monday. Neither did Chloe. Rumors flew faster than gossip at a slumber party. Some said Samantha shaved her head. Others claimed her mom threatened to sue the school for negligence. Madison was the only one who returned, but she'd swapped her usual waves for a tight bun and stayed unusually quiet in class. Avery and I. We didn't gloat, not openly, but inside I felt something shift. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid to walk through the halls. I wasn't hiding behind my hoodie. My bald patch had started to grow back, and I wore it like a battle scar. A reminder that I'd survived something. At lunch, we sat at a table by the window, the same one where Samantha used to hold court like a plastic-throned queen. Now it was empty, and the rest of the school had noticed. People whispered, not in the cruel way they used to, but in a curious, respectful kind of way. I heard someone mutter, "That's the girl they messed with." She fought back. Even a few teachers gave me those weird sideways glances. Not disapproval, not quite pride either, more like recognition. But nothing topped what happened that afternoon. Mrs. Kendrick stopped me after class. "Riley," she said gently, "can I have a word?" I froze, heart racing. Had she found out? Was this it? A suspension? But instead of scolding me, she sighed. "I saw the photo last week, and I should have said something then. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what happened to you." My mouth opened, but I couldn't speak. She continued. "Whatever's going on now, let's just say I hope everyone involved takes this as a chance to reflect." Her eyes twinkled, just barely. "Sometimes karma wears sneakers, you know?" I walked out of class with a weird, stunned lightness. Mrs. Kendrick had seen me. The real me. Not the scared girl in the hoodie. Not the girl who got gum smeared in her hair. But the one who stood back up. Later that day, Avery handed me a note. No signature, just 3 words. "They never expected you." That night I stared at myself in the mirror. No gum, no tears, just me. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled at my own reflection, not out of vanity, but victory. The revenge was never about ruining them. It was about reclaiming myself, about showing them I wasn't weak, and proving to the school and to myself that I deserved better. They thought I'd break, but I came back stronger. It didn't end with gum. By the following week, the school was buzzing with stories. Not all of them were true. Some said Samantha tried to switch schools, others claimed her mom made her get a buzz cut to teach her humility. Honestly, I didn't care what part was real. What mattered was this: the throne was empty and no one rushed to fill it. The bullies had ruled through fear. But now fear had shifted. Not toward me or Avery, but toward consequences. The kind you didn't see coming. The kind that weren't loud or violent, but poetic. Equal parts justice and humiliation. Avery called it art. We hadn't planned on continuing, but others started reaching out. Quietly, carefully. A girl from sophomore year who'd had her diary stolen. A boy from math class who'd been shoved for stuttering. All of them carried their own bruises, some visible, most not. At first I hesitated. I wasn't trying to start a movement. I wasn't trying to be anyone's hero. But when one of them looked at me with that same haunted expression I'd worn in the mirror just a week before, I knew I couldn't ignore it. So we helped. In subtle ways. Someone had their stolen notebook magically returned with the culprit's handwriting caught in the margins. Another girl's old embarrassing video mysteriously vanished from every phone it had been shared to. We didn't destroy people, we just restored balance. I started walking with my head up, not to be cocky, but because I wasn't ashamed anymore. And people noticed. Even the principal called me into her office. My stomach twisted the entire walk down the hallway, but when I sat down, all she said was, "I heard you've had a difficult few weeks." I nodded, unsure what was coming. She leaned forward. "Whatever happened? It seems to have made a lot of students feel safer. That's something we've been trying to do for years." Then she paused. "You've got a voice, Riley. And you used it cleverly, I might add. But if you ever want to speak up more formally, think student council or the peer support group, come see me." I left speechless. Me, the girl with the scissors in the bathroom, leading something. But maybe that's exactly why I should. When I passed Madison in the hallway later that day, she looked away. Not out of guilt, not even fear. Just like she didn't know what to say. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to say anything either, because I'd already said it. With every step I took, with every moment I refused to stay small, with every strand of hair I lost and every inch of pride I gained back, I was no longer the girl who got gum stuck in her hair. I was the girl who stuck back. By the end of the month, the buzz had died down, but something deeper had changed. Not just in the school, in me. I wasn't the same Riley who stared into the mirror with scissors shaking in her hand, trying to cut out the shame. That version of me had been quiet, scared, constantly apologizing for just existing. But now I wasn't sorry anymore. I had faced them, I had faced me. One afternoon, Avery and I sat under the old tree near the back of the school, the same place we first plotted our revenge. Sunlight dripped through the leaves in golden lines across our faces. She was sketching in her notebook a half-drawn comic panel of a girl with a giant pair of scissors standing triumphant over a fallen crown. I laughed. "Is that supposed to be me?" She smirked. "The scissors are metaphorical, duh." We sat in silence for a moment, listening to the birds, the distant chatter of other students. Then she said quietly, "You changed the air, you know." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "The way people walk now. The way they think before they open their mouths. You made that happen." It took me a while to let that sink in. I hadn't just gotten revenge, I'd cracked something open. Later that week, I walked into the bathroom again, the same one where everything started. The stall was empty, clean. I stood in front of the mirror, remembering the moment my hands trembled, scissors clenched, tears hot on my cheeks. And then I pulled down my hood. The bald spot had nearly vanished. My hair was short now, uneven but free, and this time I didn't hide it. 2 girls walked in and did a double take. One of them whispered to the other, "That's her." But there was no laughter. Just quiet awe. Not fear, just respect. Before I left, I took out a marker from my bag and wrote on the inside of the stall door, "You're not weak, you're just waiting to find your roar, R." I stepped out into the hallway. I didn't need to lead a rebellion. I didn't need to be crowned anything. I just needed to remember that even the smallest, quietest girl can make a sound that shakes everything. My name is Riley, I'm 16, and I made sure they would never forget me, not because I cried, but because I got up, chewed my own piece of gum, and stuck it right back. This story isn't just about revenge. It's about reclaiming your voice when others try to silence it. If you've ever been bullied, humiliated, or made to feel like you don't belong, know this. Your worth is never defined by their cruelty. Pain may sting, but it can also be the fire that fuels your strength. You don't have to become cruel to stand up. You don't have to fight with fists. Sometimes the smartest resistance is quiet, clever, and poetic. Sometimes just refusing to hide is its own rebellion. Let this be a reminder: your scars are not your shame, they are your proof that you survived. Speak up, stand tall, find your roar. Because when you finally do, the world won't just hear you.